we get an insight to who Ernest Page really is. The video, Kyle.
Welcome to the final episode of Test My Ride Cape Town. It's been a long season. Here we are today, Mika, but there can be only one winner for a front-wheel drive little hatchback that makes 350 kilowatts. Join us again next week to see our next car in the Cape Town installment of Test My Ride. Well, Mika left with the car and the girl. That's it. I'm done.
That is definitely fun.
Go on the side window now. There we go. Well done.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Abdul Sayed here, episode 11, Motortalk with Witzenberg. We have an exciting guest on the show tonight. His name is Ernest Page, and a lot of you know who he is, and a lot of you don't know who he is. So tonight we are really going to get an insight to who Ernest Page really is. So welcome to our show, Ernest. And I'm not sure if my co-host Byron is still around. I think he has left the country. Oh, Byron is here. Oh my word! Hello, Byron.
Hello, Abdul. I am not going to brave it out there by leaving the country with this whole COVID-19. I'm staying locked in my house here.
Now I told you the cure for COVID is exhaust fumes and Gymkhana, the smell of tires and the handbrake turns. That cures all the COVID symptoms.
Exactly. You should see me in the garage.
Hi, Ernest.
Hi there.
Nice to have you on the show tonight. It's an exciting time for us to have someone like you with your background on the show, and you really have a fantastic story to tell us tonight. I know that. I just went through a couple of the stuff that you sent, and there's a lot of stuff to cover. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time to cover it, but we'll extend the time. So, hello, Ernest, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, that's good to be here. And like you said, I've done a little bit of driving, but it's been a long journey, man. It's still happening right now. And there's, as with any journey, there's a lot of different chapters. And now finally things are starting to sort of come together. I've had some good patches in motorsport, and the motorsport lady can be cruel sometimes, she can be good, and I think most of us involved with cars have at some stage have this long drawn out journey and lots of ups and downs in between.
Well, that's what motorsport is about, I suppose. I think any sport is like that. You have your ups and your downs, and that is where maybe you can tell me what's going to happen tonight is I have to run away for a couple of minutes because I have to go, we have a prayer time at 8 o'clock, so it's kind of just past 8. So maybe what I'm going to do is run away quickly, and then Byron can kind of just, keep on going on the show. I shouldn't be too long. I should be probably like, within 5 to 7 minutes, I should be back. So okay. Byron, let me just ask Ernest, the video, I know, I like to introduce him this way, straight from Gymkhana, Ernest Page. He said he came 50th out of 52 people in his first ever Gymkhana. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. I was terribly slow. And what was sad was that I went into there thinking that I was incredibly fast. And that's usually how most of us get a rude awakening.
It's interesting. And I'm laughing because I'll tell you a funny story. You go on, Ernest. You go on. I'll tell you a funny story later about this.
But that's exactly it. Like it's a lot of people got introduced like that, and motorsport has a way of humbling us by showing us that you still got a lot to learn. And because I started late, that was an interesting experience, because the thing that I learned was that I'm not supposed to look at the object or the cone as it comes past the car. So driving, I'd look at the cone to see how I could miss it, because I wanted to be a stunt driver growing up. So I like missing things, but like sliding into gaps and things like that. And what I found with the Gymkhana driving, or any driving for that matter, is that looking ahead is very important. And then when I did that, it changed everything. from there on it. And I wasn't second, third last anymore.
Amazing. I must tell you the funny story because my background is circuit racing. I mean, I'm 55 now. I'll be 55 tomorrow. So probably since the age of 25 or before that, I've been racing at clubman's kind of. I stopped for a while, and then I decided, you know what, I'm sick of the circuit racing, too much politics and all the rest, too expensive and all the rest of the stuff. And then I decided to do I was coerced into doing Gymkhana.
Yeah.
And you know what? When I come back from my prayer time, I'll tell you a little story. And maybe, Byron, I'm going to hand over to you. So you can just continue talking to Ernest and doing what you do best. And then I will come back in a couple of minutes. Chat to you guys now.
Oh, chat to Abdul then soon. But yeah, thanks for being on the show, Ernest. Now, that's the big thing that Abdul was talking about from Gymkhana. You were basically a son of the Gymkhana. And first and foremost, how did you get to hear about Gymkhana? How did you get to start out? What was your pre-motorsport background coming into?
I went to the track with my cousin Rupert Brooks to go watch racing once or twice, and I always wanted to do it. I was into the touring car scene, the British touring cars were my favorites. I wanted to do circuit racing was my main sort of objective, and then I got this Golf Mark II GTI that the guy named Zahir Dolly built, and it was like a concourse car. This is my third car, I think, at that stage, and it was a concourse car. And I did a track day with the GTI club, and then this Gymkhana thing started happening. It was happening at the time, and then I went to go check it out. But I knew that the Gymkhana was, I didn't want to do street racing, man. It's weird, like where I came from. A lot of my friends did street racing, and I certainly, when I was younger, used to slide any car around any corner, but I never wanted to race street racing. I just wasn't into it, but I always wanted to race on the track, and the best way to compete with the car that I had was Gymkhana. So with the Gymkhana thing, I went to the GTI club, joined the GTI club, but I realized quickly that there are levels to this game. And and the guys that have been doing it for a long time, they've been practicing for a while, they've been driving for a while, and I needed to practice. And I'm very, when I bite into something, when I like something, then I kind of go all in. And what I wanted to do was learn to be faster. And then that's what I did. I tried to just learn as an older guy how to go as fast as possible in a car. And then learn the theory of driving from that point on. And that's kind of what's been fascinating me all along. I love the theory of driving cars and how to go faster and what happens when someone goes faster.
And I think, Ernest, as well, that's actually a big topic over here. A lot of people think that you get into a car and you drive it like hell and you'll be fast. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Sometimes you actually have to, I find that you have to calm your approach down. I know they talk about Lewis Hamilton at the moment, that he's in one of the best driving forms of his life. He's not last of the late breakers. He's not specifically, quick from a usual point of view. But now, how do you get your mindset? Because when you're starting out, you start out as a bit slow, then you start pushing it, but then you have to go down again.
Yes, and we had at the 9 hour now the other day, we had a guy that was a first-time driver. And we spoke about, he got thrown into the deep end, Peter van Reden, he got thrown into the deep end, and he was the guy that won for us at the end. Well, at least we won a class, but he crossed the line for us at the end with a flat tire, but that's another story. And it was his first time, and we went through the process of what it's like to race for the first time in such a, quite frankly, stressful environment. And it's important in the beginning to focus on certain areas first, and then work your way to focusing on other areas, because you don't want to be the last of the late breakers, like you say, because that's a high risk environment for not a high return. It's high risk, low return environment. If you need to make the overtake, of course, but you don't need to make the overtake. It's your first time. So just drive the car in the mid corner as fast as possible and in the exit as fast as possible, starting with the exit phase. And the way he learned and how quickly he got fast was cool, but it was still keeping the risk down. And that process of learning how to drive and the nuance behind it, and like you say, guys like Lewis Hamilton, the best of the best, the 1% is the 1% of the 1%. It's fascinating, man. I love that stuff.
And just to show where he actually came from, because he was quite a hard pusher when he started out in Formula One. but to actually see how you've grown and how many people have grown. I know you also spoke about, yes, when you overtaking somebody, yes, you can try, you go later on brakes and so on, but also as well, self-preservation, not crashing, and also looking after the brakes and looking after the tires.
Yeah, the one
you don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention which one of my teammates cooked the brakes because I'm not going to throw my guy under the bus. But that happens, you know, when you push on very hard and you try to get those lap times, and then that does happen. But yeah, getting back to the Gymkhana thing, I actually, a couple of years ago, I actually drove Duncan's Supercharged Golf, and we did an article for Speed and Sound or VW magazine, one of the two. I can't remember. Duncan Jeffrey, yeah. The legend, the multiple champion.
The legend himself, yes. We missed. He's got to come back sometime.
Is he not driving at the moment?
Not at the moment. Conspicuously so.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to drive his car in a competition, and we used the one wheels. I drove with one arm on that one to see what it was like, and I mean, my arm was sore for 2 months after that. But the thing is that car, the way that car handled, it gave me an insight into what a Gymkhana car is supposed to handle. And I see a lot of the Gymkhana guys are doing it nowadays, where the rear of the car just kind of follows the front of the car. And it's fascinating for me. That was the one big thing that I learned at Gymkhana, is how to rotate the rear of the car in like a zero counter type of situation where you turn the wheel and then the car kind of just steers itself around the corner. So that's definitely one of the things I learned from Gymkhana. And Gymkhana is still my favorite. I wouldn't say still my favorite, but it's definitely right up there for one reason, is the intensity. I really like that whole thing. You're on for a certain period of time, and then from that start to that period to the end, you can't make any mistakes. So for that minute and a half or that minute or whatever, you cannot make any mistakes. And I love that about Gymkhana. That's the one thing that for me stands out the most about Gymkhana.
Well, one thing I can tell actually about Gymkhana as well, and speaking about this and about the technical side of a race car, motor car, is in motorsport itself. And I can hear from you as well that the technical and the hands-on side is incredibly important. You know, you get some drivers who don't know much about the technical side of things. They get in the car, they drive the car, the mechanics take care of everything. But now getting involved from a mindset point of view and knowing, you know, about every little thing, about settings, everything like it, that sounds, in what I hear, is very important to you as far as racing is concerned.
Look, I'm going to be honest. My guy, Bob Craig the Toy, he's not going to be happy with me. I tell you that is the case, because all the guys that I've worked with, that I've raced with, know that I prefer, I mean, I had a tuning workshop back in the day, but I prefer not to work on cars. I don't like working on cars. I like knowing what's going on, and I don't mind helping if I need to. But when it comes to building engines and things like that, I'm not interested in it. I want to drive. That's my main thing. Is I love driving, but I love understanding the technical aspects of it, but more so the technical aspects of actually driving the car. And then the mechanic guy, he's the guy that obsesses about the technical aspects of the car.
So more technique over the actual physical mechanics of the car. Yes, understanding is great, but still more the technique as far as driving is concerned.
Yes, that's sort of my favorite subject when it comes to motorsport, because that's my favorite subject when it comes to motorsport.
Okay, Byron, can I ask a question?
Well, Abdul, you don't have to ask me twice. I should be asking you that question. So go for it.
No, you know what? That's the beauty of Gymkhana. We're one big family. That's really what it's about, eh? And that's what attracted me to Gymkhana. But coming back to Ernest, so tell us a little bit about, you started with Gymkhana, correct?
Yeah. So from there, when I got to the development program, we started with a karting competition, and then the WPMC bought a car from Alton Scullett, if I remember correctly. It was his Golf Mark 1. And then they used that Mark 1 for track days and Gymkhana. And we were then taught to drive at the Gymkhana, and that's where Ash, there we go, just speaking of the devil, Ash just sent a message here. I just see his name pop up. And that was very serendipitous. That's when Ash popped into this, or I popped into Ash's scene rather, and we got in touch and drove around the track, and that's when the Gymkhana thing started. And I remember having a conversation with him. He told me Gymkhana's not his thing. He's a track guy. He wants to go fast around all circuit. I said, I do too. But I love Gymkhana, and this is a good training ground, and I want to do both. And drifting's my other love as well. So I could never really choose one lane. I've always liked a whole bunch of different things. That's why I commentated the drags. That's why I like Gymkhana, drifting, whatever. And then Ash took us around that day, as he said. But I don't think he didn't mention the fact that we almost set the car alight that day. He had nothing to do with it. We were starting the car, these young guys that do nothing. Starting the car, when it was a carburetor car, and the carburetor got flooded by the filter or something. And then the engine caught the light. Now, all we had to do was just swing it again. But me being me at the time, I panicked and just I didn't know what to do. And then Paul Simon comes running around the corner, the fire extinguisher, and we eventually get to put the car out. So I think that day got cancelled halfway through. And that was the first day. I spoke to Paul Simon that day, and he came to me and he said, I'll never forget his words. He said, that's racing. And I got a taste of what a good race day is and what a terrible race day is. it was an interesting, but that whole program was like that. That was sort of the Gymkhana training program with the WPMC. That whole thing was like that. It's up and down, but learnings all the time. And I loved it there. And eventually I started running the Gymkhanas at Killarney as a job. So I was the guy that stood there, that did the timing and sorted out the flags and all the course and laid the course out and all that stuff. So that was kind of my first job there at the track. And I loved it, man. I loved being this. And the people used to let me drive the cars, and it was great. It was a good time.
Okay, so Witzenberg Motor Club obviously has been doing Gymkhanas as well, not at Killarney, obviously, because it is kind of in different outlying areas.
Yeah.
So what has happened now, consequently, is we're back at Killarney, as you know.
I saw.
So you are definitely on the cards to come and join us at the next Gymkhana. In more ways than one. You're going to come as a commentator. You're going to come as, you can sit in somebody's car and be a navigator. And the interesting part of the Gymkhanas is that we attract a lot of drifting guys as well. So we have some really, really good drifting guys that coming over with their cars. And we kind of have it, a little bit for everything.
Yeah.
And a little bit of everything, sorry. And that is the fun part of the Gymkhana. So there's a comment by Ashfaq which Byron will address later on. So Ernest, so you went through this development program. It's called the development program with Ashfaq. Tell us a little bit about this development program.
So it started, I think, around 2004, 2003, 2004. They wanted to find some new drivers of color, and there was this competition, this karting competition. You go to the karting place, you set a lap time, and I wanted to race, but I really wanted to do more drifting, and I wanted to do more motoring journalism. Racing was kind of, and then stunt driving. Those were the things that I really wanted to do, but the racing was kind of number 3 or number 4, really. But then this development program thing came, but it was more of a confidence thing. When I was young and I wasn't very confident in my own abilities, and I'm kind of glad it went that way, because also I believe that ability needs to be tested and proven, man. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have a blind faith in my ability because I was quite young and not a very confident young man.
Right.
And went to this thing, and they chose the 25 fastest guys. And then eventually they had a competition where all of us went up against each other in heats, and I won that competition. Now, I wasn't tipped to go, and I was probably the 3rd or the 4th fastest guy there. And I certainly wasn't the fastest of the guys that were in the top 5 in the end, because 5 of us got chosen. But
connection problem there.
There we go.
He's back.
Yeah,
this one, you probably knocked one of the cones. That's why you took the wrong route here on the Gymkhana. Okay, you're back. I'm glad.
I'm back. Okay, I didn't see the cone.
Well, 10-second penalty. You know the rules.
5 seconds, eh? So then
I just 10 seconds, eh?
Yeah. What's that?
I said 10-second penalty.
No way. Look, I pride myself in my ability to miss cones these days. That's one of my favorite things, to go through a tight sequence, and then all the cones must be there by the time I leave.
Well, when you see Nadia sing again, you ask her what happened to it. Not the last one, kind of the one before that. I'm not going to say anything. My lips are sealed. But her car changed color from white to orange.
Look, I wrecked my SX at the Gymkhana. I should drift at the Gymkhana as well, my 200 SX, and it was a great time until I hit the pavement.
Oh
So
my word.
as the Drift King says, even monkeys fall from trees.
Okay, so take us. So we stopped at 20. You won the competition, right?
Yeah. So during I got one of the karting competition, and then we went to the program. But I still wasn't tipped as the fastest guy there. There was a guy named he was a very good friend of mine at the time, Jose Domingo. He was the quickest guy there. And I was a very good friend of his, and I kind of knew that he was faster than me. But what I then did was I then made it because now I've got this chance, right? I have to make the most of this opportunity. And I then made it my business to learn how to be faster. So I got these two books. One was called Going Faster, and the other one was called Race to Win. And I basically studied how to go faster and then used the practice at the development program. I got coaching from Ash, coaching from Paul Simon, ERA racing guys, Dion Joubert gave me some cool tips. So I basically absorbed information, and I think a lot of people take for granted now that we've got like the internet now to be able to get us all this information. But back then, this was 2005, there wasn't that much information out there, especially not about this topic. And a lot of people still kind of drove on the seat of their pants, which is cool, but I'm more of an analytical kind of guy. And then from there, I managed to become the fastest, most consistent. I won most of the Gymkhana things, and Gymkhana kind of became my preferred driving discipline because I knew I wasn't that good at circuit yet because I hadn't done enough of it. But Gymkhana was my favorite, and I was pretty fast at the Gymkhana.
Okay, so how did you, before this whole story started, how did you actually develop a love for motorsport or cars?
Yeah, since I was a child, like I've always been into cars, always. My parents say from I was drawing cars all the time. I can't draw, but I always tried to draw cars. And when I had my bicycle, for example, I wanted to be a stuntman. So when I had my bicycle, I would do handbrake turns into the garage to try and park as close to the garage wall as possible. I'd ride my bike as fast as possible and crash often, because I wanted to go as fast as possible on anything with wheels. Anything, skateboard, anything with wheels. But we didn't have access to cars. My neighbor, eventually, his parents got a car. And then when I was young, we started catching on a bit of nonsense. But I always just wanted to drive fast. Always.
Okay. So, Baden, do you have a few things you want to address with Ernest here quickly?
Well, there's a few comments actually just want to come up over here. As well, one I like very much from Ashfaq Dawood, a very good friend of ours and of the show. If anyone wants to see someone with passion and determination, Ernest Page is a perfect example. Now, I love that, Ernest, and I think it takes somebody with passion to notice somebody else with passion as well.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean I've had the privilege of racing against Ashfaq. Ashfaq sold me a dummy on the back of turn 5, and then I spun out. So I've got some unfinished business with him on the track, Mr. Dawood. But yeah, no, it was good too. I was starstruck when I met those guys. When I met Ash and the ERA racing guys, I'd never seen cars like that up close before, and it was super inspirational. We washed the cars the first night we were there. That's all we did. We washed and polished them. And I didn't mind. I didn't mind at all. I just wanted to be around that environment, you know. We had sort of backstage passes for the first time. Because when I came to Killarney the first time, and I tell new people this all the time, when you come there, it feels like you're like this looking through the window, because there's this community of people that all know each other. They're all high-fiving on the other side there because they've been racing each other for the last 5 years, whatever. But the thing is that when it comes to after a while, you start getting to know that crowd, and you start getting to get that backstage pass. And that's what this program gave me. Was I just went straight to the back office, you know what I mean?
Also, as well, just to clear something else up from earlier on, Abdul from Nadia Singh, saying, I was minding my own business, driving my route, and those orange cones just jumped out of nowhere. And I can tell you, those orange cones have got a habit of doing that, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, just as a matter of interest, Nadia, it wasn't the cone, that was the tires.
Oh, yes. It's got all
That was honest of the tires, but because
they kind of blend into one sometimes. You know, you can't tell the difference.
absolutely, absolutely. Ernest, I see you also drove GTI Challenge, am I correct?
Yeah, I was very
What,
lucky.
like 2006, 2007 or something.
Yeah, 2006. So I won the program, and then what happened was this guy named Quentin Felder went to the
Okay.
WPMC, and he said, "I've got an extra car. I want to put someone in that car." And I mean, can you imagine it? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that this was happening in such a short period of time. All of a sudden, now I'm racing in a team. We got a legit car. They invited me for a seat fitting. I'd never been for a seat fitting before. I normally just get in the car and drive. So it was a really a well set up team. You know, they had a mechanic and they had 4 cars, and it was really cool to be part of this all of a sudden. So now I'm racing a GTI Challenge in a car that was quite competitive. I think Ian Long drove that car before. And in my first race, it was raining, and I'd never even driven fast in the rain before. Not hardly.
Okay.
But I had these 2 books, and then in those books, I studied how to go as fast as possible in the wet. And there's rules.
It's on the circuit now.
Say again?
It's on the circuit.
It's on the circuit. Yeah. On the circuit, yeah.
Tell us about these rules. Tell us about these rules and stuff.
So I do driver training now, and this is the stuff I've talked to guys about as well, especially wet weather driving. Wet weather driving, the ideal thing, and I mean, I'm open to discussion on this, obviously, because I'm talking to a bunch of guys that know what's up. But ideally, you want to drive in a square. So to square the track off means that there's a lot less turning. And the way the GTI Challenge cars are set up is that they slide, the back of the car slides a lot. And we had like solid anti-roll bars back in the day. So the car would, when you try and go fast around a corner, the car would slide. Right? We weren't allowed to run wet tires either. So the best thing to do is just to go straight and then square it off. So slow down a lot, get the car turned, and then go in the opposite direction as fast as possible. Brake in a straight line, all of those type of things. And these are all basic things, but if you break those rules, there's prices to pay. And for the most part, in a wet race, out of 30 guys, 10 guys at least are going to spin off or have a moment or whatever. So I'm in that group of guys that's consistently going at a decent pace. And that's what I did. I just went faster and faster and faster until eventually I ended up on pole. So I've got pole for my first GTI Challenge race ever in Class B.
Brilliant.
And it was a cool way. I did get disqualified, truth be told, but that's because the car turned out, I didn't know this, turned out there was an indiscrepancy on the car, and we had to take the whole car away and rebuild part of the car to get the car legal again. It was, and again, I don't think it was anything malicious, but if you, in 2005, if you're brown and fast, you're going to have eyes on you. You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna say that. So suddenly the car was, yeah. Well, we're gonna come to that question later on.
There was for sure an issue with the car, and but GTI Challenge is strict that way, and the rules are the rules. The rules are the rules.
But you still ended up second in the championship that year, isn't it?
That year I got Rookie of the Year, and then the next year I got second in the championship. I was leading the championship for most of the year. Actually, I should have won that. I should have won that one, not easily, but I should have won that one. But I made some very basic young guy mistakes. I made a lot of young man mistakes when I was younger, and I just ruined my chances, and it was all on me. Every mistake that I made there, missing the start of the one race, we fitted the wrong hub to the car the other race. I got into entanglement with Piet van der Walt, who was my nemesis at the time. We bumped into each other. I got a red flag for that one, disqualification. So there was all these mistakes that happened over the course of the year, and I was fast, but I wasn't championship material in that sense, because I need a champion strings together a bunch of wins. I was able to string together isolated wins. And that was a skill that I needed to learn over time. And I think if I'd stayed in GTI Challenge, I would have learned that skill. But unfortunately, the next year, my relationship with Quentin ended. And then I only did one race with him the following year. Set at 25.8, which was the fastest time in GTI Challenge ever at the time. And then that was Class A. And then after that, our relationship ended and we were done. So I didn't really get to see that path through. But the cool thing is now, what I take now is that for the younger drivers, I use that as... It's a cautionary tale, man. Like the mistakes that I made, I make sure that young drivers now don't make those same mistakes, because I had to learn the hard way, and we all have to learn the hard way from our mistakes.
Well, they say there's 2 ways you can learn. You can learn from your own mistakes, or you can learn from someone else's mistakes. So if you learn from your own mistakes, it costs you a lot of time and a lot of money. if you learn from someone else's mistakes, it saves you a lot of time and it saves you a lot of money.
Yeah.
But as young men, we like to learn the hard way, as you say.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you want to address a few things there with Ernest before I go to the next question?
I think just a few things over here as well. I just want to, just before I go to some of the comments and everything like that. And Ernest, so when you started out, of course, we're talking about back in 2001. Yes, there was internet, but the internet wasn't as widespread as it is now. How much has YouTube and various video sites contributed to watching other drivers and to technique and everything like it? YouTube is just full of videos of all kinds of racing.
You can learn anything nowadays. Like, I think James May made an analogy once where he said, if you wanted to be an expert in tanks in the 1970s, for example, you'd need to go to the library and go through the 3 tank books that were there. And that's all you could learn. Whereas in the 90s, late 90s, noughts, and then now, you can learn anything about almost any topic. And I was lucky that I was a teenager when the internet came to South Africa. So I was very lucky that I knew what it was like before the internet to do research in a book and at a library. But I also got this brand new thing that was all the information just is there. And I was able to develop that skill that I took into IT and even now, I'm just really good at finding answers. So when it comes to finding answers for how to drive or anything that I like, the internet is an unbelievable resource. And I think nowadays, when I look at the young drivers now, they are so clued up that the advantage that they have over guys like me now is amazing, because I used that as my trump card back then, where I was one of the few guys that would do it. Now, you speak to any 18-year-old, he's got a simulator, he's on the internet, downloading, watching videos. He's effectively got thousands of hours of racing since he was 14 by racing online on his Logitech G29 or whatever. So, and he's got the information to talk to other guys on the internet. So the internet thing to me, it's the biggest asset. If you want to learn anything, and I often talk to young guys like that, if you want to learn how to drive fast, use the net. It's there.
And I take it from your knowledge of some of the simulator race, you are a keen simulator racer as well?
I used to be. I competed in that. Actually, I forgot to put that in there. That's the first way I started, actually, is on sims way back. I had a steering wheel in like 1998 or something. I was one of the first guys I knew at the time to have a steering wheel. And it was a clunky thing that just went gang, gang, but it was at least on my desk at home, and I could play games like that. And I've always believed in sim racing. I'm part of a TV show called Virtual God now, and sim racing, it's great, man. But nowadays, the guys are fast now. Eh? The guys are super fast these days. I don't compete anymore.
And then just one last thing, Abdul asked me to take a look at the comments, and we did speak about it earlier on, Ernest, but Nadia has asked, when is Ernest Page joining us at Gymkhana? Now, that's here only.
But I want to come drive, man. I want to drive. So I'll see if I can pull some strings and organize a car from someone. Maybe Toyota can give me an 8.6 or something.
No. Toyota mustn't waste our time.
Okay, Supra.
No, not even the Supra.
What do we want? What do we want? About the GR?
No, we don't. That's a half BMW. We're not talking about that car. The GR Yaris.
Yo, I drove the old GR Yaris, eh?
Now you drove the GRMN, right?
Yeah, the GRMN. Yes.
Yeah, you drove the one with the narrow one, but the GR, the Gazoo, the new one.
But I'm telling you, these guys know how to make a car. Eh? They know how to make a car. Whoa.
You talk about Toyota, you get me excited, my friend. I drive Toyota. I love those cars.
So what do you drive
at
the Gymkhana?
Well, I drive the Toyota Conquest.
Okay, nice.
And it was a 1300. It was a 1300. Well, the engine is out now, so we're going to put a bigger engine in.
1300 watt. That thing probably revs to like what?
Yeah, well, 9.5.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a nice little car. I mean, it wasn't a lot, like 110 kilowatts out of a 1300.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, but the 1300s, the issue with the 1300s are that they don't have torque, lower down torque.
Nah, everything's on top. You have to keep it in the rev range right on top.
Yeah, so when I used that car for clubbers, it was fine because it was everything that was all high up. The revs were all it was all above 5,500, 6,000 to 9,500. So the important thing is that we're busy building with another engine with a little bit more low down torque.
Yeah.
So, but Byron is going to tell you an interesting story because he comes to Gymkhana with a stock standard 1300 Toyota Taz. And that is unbelievable. Trust me.
No way.
And that's what Gymkhana is about. That is what Gymkhana is about. Because you can come with anything.
Run what you bring. Run what you bring.
Yeah, absolutely. But you don't come there with a new Toyota GR Yaris, then we're not going to lie to drive. I'm telling you now.
I'll see what I can do. Honestly, I'm going to send them this clip. I'm going to send Toyota and Clinton from Toyota. I'm going to send him this clip. And Rian, if you're watching this, I'm going to send them this exact clip and ask them nicely if they can organize a GR for Gymkhana.
because this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. You better speak to Toyota. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get a few celebrities, like you, obviously, maybe someone like Serge or Dion or Sarel.
Yeah.
Right? Exact same car.
Yeah.
Exact same car. Right there. Pardon. There we go. And check my cap here as well. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's the F1 Toyota.
Nice.
So,
I got no Toyota pad. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I can see your underwear is red. I can see it. GR Gazoo racing underwear. I don't have a problem with that either. So anyhow, so here's the thing. So we get a few celebrities. We stick them in the same car and against the clock. That's going to cause. And Carl, our IT guy, he live streams these events. Yes. So here we got something to talk about, guys. Here we have something to talk about.
I did a Gymkhana with Suzuki a couple months ago, and I was terribly slow. I think I got 6 or something. And I realized the style of driving in Gymkhana is different. I haven't done it in a long time. So there's nuance there. There's ways to shift the weight of the car around. That's totally different. So I'm interested to play around with that again. Definitely.
It's good. Well, we gotta chat about it. Absolutely. So so you also drove single seaters, am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah, for a while with Fantastic Racing. I worked for them as instructor, and then we struck up a deal that I get to drive one of the cars at race weekends. And they had a program where people could rent the cars for the whole weekend. And I mean, it was a crazy thing, really. You get these guys flying in, wealthy guys flying in, they pay their money, they race the car. And then we kind of coach them on the day and then also drive the cars on the day and race the cars on the day. And it was awesome. That's one of the places where I learned how to drive. And my fastest that I went was a 1:15.7. And this was in 2009, I think. And the one day I remember, of the 300 and odd cars that entered, that time was the fastest time of all the cars there. And those cars were incredible, man. When they were in great condition back then, they were really, really good cars. The Renault 98Es is what we had. And they were fun, heavy cars, so they could take a bit of a beating. But they were also very fast if you managed to get the hang of it. I wish that I'd spend more time with someone like Ash, for example, and really develop the car, because we kind of just got in and drove. And in that sense, there was a lot lacking in my technical knowledge back then, and working with someone about setting a single seat up, because it's a difficult car to set up. It's not like a Golf or whatever. And even with the Golf stuff back then, there were setup things that I tried that I learned from the guys in Joburg that didn't work. But then years later, that they adopted some of those settings in the new setups, because there was someone that went down the whole process of getting it to work so that the speed came.
Yeah.
So, but the single seater thing for me, I learned a lot about driving, and then doing a 1:15 on the Saturday, and then coming to a track day the next week and taking somebody around as a passenger in a 350Z felt like slow motion. It made every other car feel easy to drive, which is what I loved about single seaters.
Brilliant. But you drove with Paul Simon also, I believe.
Yes, we raced against each other once. And I got the win on him.
Oh my God. I got to get Paul on the show. I don't know where he is. I actually sent him the link, but I didn't even look at the link.
You do know. I'm sure you'll look at it eventually. I speak to Paul often. Paul and I have been friends since then. I mean, he was basically coaching me in 2005. He was my coach, effectively. And I learned a lot from him. And he's always laid me up, like one thing, like me and him have been friends for a long time, and he gave me opportunities. Whether what I did with those opportunities was often up to me, but he made sure that he put me in the right conversations. And when he introduced me to people, he'd say, "This is Ernest Page, our development driver. He's done this, and this. This is so and so, some owner of something. There you go." And then he'd be in a conversation and walk away, and then I'd manage to make a contact that would 3 years down the line be working at some car place or whatever. So working with him at Killarney and having him, show me the ropes there and bring me in was amazing. And I know Paul gets a bad rap sometimes. I know that he's got people don't always agree with his methods and whatever. But
Ernest, I'm going to put you on the spot now. When you speak to me and tell him we need our dates for Gymkhana for 2021, eh? Come on, because I sent him an email long ago. So I'm gonna go and visit him at his house or something. I'm just teasing him.
As I always say, my name is Paul, and this is between y'all.
We're just gonna do a quick. I want to just show Kyle. I just want to show you what Byron's car. We're gonna play a quick clip of Byron's Gymkhana stock standard Toyota Taz.
Yeah,
Kyle, you're gonna just put it on quickly, Kyle. Let us show the guys what it's about. Yeah, so Byron, that's what Gymkhana is about, eh? Straight out of Gymkhana.
Well, that's
Stock standard Toyota Taz.
That's the thing, though, that you can take any car and go do Gymkhana. That's what makes Gymkhana so amazing, that you can take the car that you're driving in when you hear about the Gymkhana and go straight to the Gymkhana and go drive.
Exactly.
And the thing is, years ago, and you always read about it in South African motor racing as well, that's how the guys used to do it years ago, is used to actually drive to Killarney, drive to Swartkorps, drive to Kyalami, race for the day, and then drive home again. And, I think it brings back a great spirit and everything like that. There's a handful of people, and there's nothing against anybody who comes in with a purposely built a car or anything like that that's on a trailer, nothing against that. But I think it just shows you everybody is welcome. You can bring basically anything and come have a lot of fun and come and indulge in your passion for motorsport.
Yeah, definitely.
I thank Richard Woodley over there for thinking that was awesome. Thank you. It means a lot to
Look, a car that was not standard. If there was a car that wasn't standard, was Richard Woodley's BMW. That thing was special.
Yes.
That thing
was
special.
And Ernest, let's put some pressure on Richard. Let's put some pressure on Richard here. I watched him a couple of times at the Old Tower with that BMW. When is he going to bring that car to a Gymkhana? Come on, Richard.
I don't even care what car he brings, as long as he comes and does anything. Surely.
He's a damn good driver. I watched him. Very, very impressive.
He qualified for the VW Motorsport program. Yeah. He won the Cape Town leg. Now he's legit.
No, I know him. I mean, his dad. I don't know if his dad is. His dad used to do rallying, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Selwyn Woodley, am I correct?
Yes.
He's got a brother as well.
Two brothers.
Yeah. So Richard comes from a good pedigree of racing. but he's never come to a Gymkhana, and I don't know why.
And the funny you should bring up the pedigree is that I think it's cool that you get these second generation sort of motorsport people of color, second, third generation, because that's starting to happen now, isn't it? And
Yes.
we're starting motorsport legacies now.
Absolutely.
Certainly, I don't know if my kids are going to race one day, but if I maybe they'll at least have the option to try it, you know.
Well, interestingly enough, one of our previous champions, Rafik Furfree, he drives.
He drives well. He drives well. I was surprised when I saw him drive.
Yeah, he was one of the previous champions, and his wife drives as well. And then his son also started driving a couple of Gymkhanas ago.
Yeah,
My son as well. My son in a stock standard Nissan Bakkie, which is smashed now. Not a Gymkhana, it was on the road. It got smashed. It wasn't his fault. But that he also. So it's, you know what? It's a safe environment for the kids to come and drive. Very safe environment.
Yeah, and it's the perfect type of driving because it's slow enough to not be too dangerous, but it's fast enough where you get to learn how the car moves, the dynamics of the car, how to load up suspension, all that kind of stuff. Because I was watching that video on the test, like that thing it's leaning on the tires, but you can't do that too much. You need to be able to feel where the grip ends and then be able to be at that place where the grip ends. Yeah. And that's a cool way to learn. Gymkhana is a very cool way to learn that skill, and you can translate that skill onto the road, which will make you much safer if you've got an obstacle you need to swerve for, anything like that. It's amazing.
I think some people actually, Ernest, would say, you know, you can do an advanced driving course, but that basically, you know, if you don't have the cash to go and do a long, big advanced driving course, you can actually come to Gymkhana and you can, you know, learn to do things. And also as well, if you want to use the handbrake and so on as well, it's a safe environment to do it.
Yeah, the handbrake turn thing, I mean, the last Gymkhana I did, the handbrake only worked in the one direction and not the other. Yes, that was so annoying. So I could do handbrake turns to the right, but I couldn't do handbrake turns to the left.
It's also your driving position, you know, and everything as well. It's amazing. You know, how
and you get to practice that stuff at the Gymkhana. Look, the advanced driver training thing, I think is super important, and I think most people should do it. In fact, it should probably be compulsory. But it's difficult, especially in this day and age. And tarmac is a rare commodity. Available tarmac is a rare commodity, isn't it?
Tell us about it. You know, I think that's what we've been looking for a long time now as well, to actually just try and get a nice open piece of tarmac, because, yes, it started out of the shopping centers, it started out of those places, but there's a lot of politics and there's a lot of other issues and safety issues that come along there as well. Remember, control of public and everything like that, which is
Yeah, and then the pavements and I know the pavements at the mall are not friendly, eh? They are not friendly at all.
No, you can a wheel or something over there very easily, break CB joints, you know, wreck lots of things on those.
Yeah, now I damaged my 200 SX's rear suspension arm, and I ended up having to import one, and it took me 2 months to get it. And then I was like, I don't ever want to slide up the Gymkhana anymore because it's too risky, you know. But the thing is, like, I'm glad that these things are becoming more accessible, because a lot of people don't know that this is existing at the moment. A lot of people don't know that where can they get that fix, you know. And it's important for people to get that fix, because I know certainly if I don't drive fast for a while, I start getting antsy. You know, so it's important for people to get that out of their system if that's your thing, you know.
Just going back to one thing, Ernest, which actually has piqued my interest. Now, you were a driving instructor for Fantastic Racing, and that for me is very different than just instructing anybody. Because now, when you're a general instructor, in my mind, you are coaching people who have racing mindsets. They want to go racing.
Yes.
But now with Fantastic Racing, you've got corporates. And some of these people haven't even watched as much as a Grand Prix.
Yeah, the varying levels of skill, it's so different. The type of person comes there, and you get the guys that are ex-race car drivers. And I mean, we had, who was it that drove the Audi, the Audi that did that, the blue and white Audi South African touring, not touring car, not Terry Moss, the other one, Aberdeen, Chris Aberdeen. We had Chris Aberdeen there the one day, and I'm like, I don't want to drive in front of Chris Aberdeen. Let him go, dude, let him go. And, you know, you've got him there, and then you've got someone that, like you said, never even turned the steering wheel before properly. And on my first day at Fantastic Racing, I thought I was going to get fired. I thought my very first day was my last day. We had, it was the amazing race, and that's how I got the position actually. Paul was working there, and they needed an extra driver. And he said, I was just a guy. He was like, trust me, this guy's good. Get there. And I'm driving in front of this lady, and they told me on the day the producer, it was a high pressure situation. So the producers needed the people to go a certain speed, and I get it now. And eventually they agreed that this person must do a 1 minute 30 around here. Now I'm the new guy, right? I'm young, I don't know anybody. My first day on the job, I'm like, guys, I do think 130 might be a little bit fast. They're like, no, we need to do 130. So the lady's driving behind me, and we probably did about a 36 or something, 35. And then we came around the one corner, and I was going faster and raising the pace ever so slowly. And she came around the one corner, turn 5, and put her foot flat on the gas instead of the brakes, and went straight into the wall behind me. And I saw this happen. I just saw the car go like this across my rearview mirror into the wall. And the shot on the TV show is me running towards the car. And as I'm running, I didn't know that she hit the gas. I just thought she crashed because she was going too fast. And as I remember running back, I thought, did I just lose this job that I just got now? Got there, the car was written off. The chassis was torn from a rock that had hit it. Expensive damage. But luckily, they deemed it to be her fault. She had to go out again after that, which I thought was a terrible idea. She just circulated again after that. And they said, look, it wasn't your fault. These things happen. And then, because we weren't actually going that fast. And then I started working for them after that. And ironically, it's come full circle now that Doug was the owner of the car and my teammate at the 9 Hour. And Doug used to own Fantastic Racing. It was his company back then. So the guy that was the owner of the company that I worked for became my teammate now and owner of the company, the team I'm racing for now at the last 9 Hours. So it's kind of cool that relationship is still in place, you know.
Okay, we're gonna get Carl to play the second half of your video, Ernest, and then we're gonna go into a couple of the cars that you've driven, a couple of the, I want to just know a couple of the facts, like the No 200 sprints, maybe the kilowatts, the torques, some of the most exciting cars that you've driven, those type of things, and maybe a little bit about your motoring journalism career and all the rest of the stuff, and maybe a little bit about the drags and things like that. So, Carl, will you get up the video quickly so people can see what's happening?
Jaguar's armband, which apparently allows me to go swimming in the freezing cold water over there and lock this key inside this 1.3 million rand car. Let's go see if it works. Let's go. Woo!
Okay, time to get serious now, okay? What do you have to do this morning?
I'm Ernest Page, and that is Jason Webb. 7 questions with Khaleesi. Well, we've got 4 activities planned for today. 2 where you're going to be learning something and keeping you safe on the track, and 2 where you're going to be having fun. You've got a car, you've got a racetrack, and we've got you.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
So, yeah.
Okay, impressive stuff. Impressive.
Thank you, man. That's actually quite an old show reel. I need to update that now. But yeah, the thing is with the car industry, I've been lucky that a lot has happened in a very short period of time. And there's you're talking about the cars that have been driven and stuff. But as motoring journalists, we are really spoiled. But that's why I wanted this job, and because I wanted this job since I was 11, and I only got it when I was 36. So I'm very happy to be and blessed to be doing what I'm doing with cars at the moment.
Absolutely. Take us through maybe a couple of cars that you've driven lately that are really impressive and exciting to drive. Like the GRM that you drove, that car's impressive, eh?
Sure. That thing is very good. GRM the thing I liked about that car was the mechanical diff. That when you point the car in the direction that you want to go, the car kind of just goes in that direction. And you know, there's certain cars that you drive like that front wheel drive cars. So you can just talk about front wheel drive cars. There's some cars like Club Sport, GRM, and now Hyundai i30N, which is my favorite car of the year, pretty much. You point them in the direction you want to go, and then they just go there. And I like cars that do that, man. I like cars that do what they're told. I don't have like an emotional connection to cars, to be honest. The nicest car, my favorite car that I owned was probably my S2000. But even when I sold it, I don't miss it. It was a tool for going fast. And I enjoy cars that are tools for going fast. So of the front wheel drive ones, that GRMN is just incredible. That thing is, and like you say, that new one is going to be amazing. That new one's going to be amazing.
One from that i30, trust me. After you've driven that, I've probably read every review on that car already, just because of the.
Which one is this now?
The new Yaris, the one with the 3cylinder 600.
I haven't read any reviews on the car. I've read nothing. I don't want to.
Nah.
When it comes to cars like that, I just stay away. I don't want to know anything. And then when I drive, then I want to get the whole experience. And that's what happened with the i30N. The i30N is a very similar car in a very similar vein, where I went around a corner at Geratech with a car lately with Ash from Cars That Zero, and we got that thing on two wheels through a corner, but it wasn't like a sweep. It was an actual corner. So that car was leaning on the two outside wheels while turning. And that's a road car, man. So it's that type of front wheel drives, and the GRMN with it being four-wheel drive is probably going to have that similar thing. And as a Gymkhana guy, I'm sure you guys can appreciate that.
I'm telling you that the new Yaris, not the GRMN, the one, the other one, the GR Yaris, right?
Yeah.
It's completely different to the GRMN. Completely, it's basically built on a rally car platform because it's got the wide body kit on. It's all-wheel drive. It's got 3 different modes. It's the most powerful.
Tell me all the facts now. I don't want to know the facts.
No, but I haven't driven this car, but every time I watch and I read a review, it's as if I'm sitting in. I want to drive this car in Gymkhana.
Okay, tell you what. If I get that car, I will come visit you. I promise you. I'm promising you now. If I get that car, I'm gonna come visit you.
You can get this car on. There's one mode called not track mode. There's another mode after track mode, where there is more bias at the back. It's an all-wheel drive system developed by Toyota. Where it's 70% at the back and 30% in the front. So track mode is 50-50. So this is a rally, and they bought this car because they had to homologate the rally cars, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love these kind of stories because that doesn't happen that often anymore.
No. So the only thing that they actually took from the normal road car Yaris are the front light and the back lights. I mean, can you believe it?
I'm gonna quote you on these facts. I'm gonna quote you on
you can probably believe me. I've probably watched and gone through. You'll never believe. I mean, I was born in a Toyota. That's why I'm emotionally attached to a Toyota. I mean, like,
I can see you really like Toyota.
Let's go to another car. So what cars?
So before we go on, are you a Serge Damso guy?
Oh, I mean, remember when Serge was driving, I was younger. I mean, like, really. Serge, anybody that drove a Toyota, it was like, you know.
Oh, Mike White.
Mike White.
Yeah.
Mike White, definitely as well.
How does Camry
Julian Bailey. Bailey. Yeah.
Julian Bailey drove the Carina, didn't he? He drove the Carina in Europe.
No, he drove in British touring cars, but when he came here to Africa, he drove the Camry. Even Mike White, and he drove as well. And then I think Charles Wilkin drove as well.
I've chatted to Charles Wilkin. I know Charles Wilkin.
Yeah, now I bought, you see, when they were driving Witzenberg modifieds that time, right? When I started circuit race, I bought my own car. It was an SR5 Toyota in those days, the old cars.
Yeah.
Then I had the opportunity to buy the Class D Witzenberg modified Corolla that Etienne Ruas used to drive. Charles Wilkin drove the Class C car, the red one. The fancy 1799cc Toyota. Anyhow, it's a story for another time. So yeah. But going back to you, Ernest.
Yeah.
Going back to you. So tell us about 1 or 2 cars that you've driven lately, tested lately.
i30N stands out. That's definitely my car of the year.
Some stats on it?
Personally. How much kilo? 213 kilowatts, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Yeah, 213 kilowatts. developed by BMW engineers. Trick suspension, trick diff, tires are awesome, manual gearbox. Steering is a bit vague. It's got too many settings in the car for suspension or stuff. The guys that have had the car for a few days say that you get used to it and it's cool eventually, but I don't like it. I just want to press one button. I want to press one button and turn everything off. But when I drove this car, I came there to the Cars Awards powered by Westbank. We're supposed to say powered by Westbank afterwards. That's why I moved my hands. But it's the Golf GTI TCR versus Stunt R Civic, which is my favorite front wheel drive, and then Hyundai, and the Hyundai is better than all of them. It's just amazing. It is. So for me, that's my car of the year. Other special cars is M2 CS, 30 in the country. I drove it around Killarney a couple of weeks ago. And M2 CS.
Oh, the M to the BMW.
BMW M2 CS, yeah. Drove that around.
Rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive?
Rear-wheel drive. But I didn't get to drive it that hard, so I want to spend more time with that car. I want to get that car on the track and spend more time with it. Favorite?
Under the hood of that car?
That's the F80, I think. Is it F80 engine? 331 kilowatt. BMW twin turbo. Straight six twin turbo.
Like the Super, basically.
Like the M4. Like the M4 CS. M4 CS engine. Yeah.
So that's quite exciting to drive a car like that because it's a rear-wheel drive car.
It's a very nice, but we didn't get to slide it or anything, so I need to spend more time with it. But the fastest cars that I've driven lately is, or not lately, but the fastest car ever, I think, is still the Audi R8 V10 Plus. It's probably the fastest accelerating car that I've driven. And it was a long time ago. I was lucky just when I started, I got to drive that car. And still, just the sheer acceleration of that thing, 2-point-something seconds to 100. And then
2-point-something seconds. Oh, my word.
I think we got 2.9. 2.9. It's very fast. And then it's incredible. Like the modern cars, man, are just, and it's in some ways it's a bit sad because I drove an E63 GT63 S the other day, Trackhawk. All these cars are very fast accelerating cars, right? But they don't feel that fast anymore. That's the thing, that once you go fast in a car, let's say you do 0 to 100 in 7 seconds. Anything slower than 7 seconds now feels slow. Then you go 6 seconds, and back in the 90s, that was normal. Like I talked to old journo guys, like Ferry DeFos, for example, Car Magazine, 1986 or whatever, and like a twin cam, 1986 twin cam, felt fast to these guys. And I remember reading about this, going, this is the fastest thing money can buy. And then you drive that, and then you drive a GLS, and the GLS feels slow. And that's kind of what's happened. So in some ways, I miss the old days of being surprised by really fast cars. So now I want to drive hypercars. I haven't driven that many hypercars. I haven't driven hypercars. So that for me is one of the big goals for the next couple of years, is to drive something that's just ridiculously fast.
Like the Bugatti, the new Bugatti, or the old Lexus LFA or something.
Yes, LFA. Imagine LFA. How's the engine on the LFA? Best sounding engine in the world, isn't it?
I remember I read something about an LFA that they could not put a analog rev counter in that thing because the car revved too fast for the analog down. Can you believe it?
Crazy.
It's unreal.
That's definitely one of my favorite cars, the LFA. I don't know if I ever own one, but it's like in the dream car garage. Because I also like Japanese cars quite a bit. So the dream car garage definitely consists of a R35 or R34.
Oh yes, the R34.
I'm driving an R34 next week, by the way, for the first time.
Oh my word!
It's got a Tomei engine. Apparently, the whole engine is the Tomei engine. So imported just like that, and the guy, I need to get his name. It'll come to me. We met at an event, and he offered to let me drive his car, and I told him. He asked me, why didn't you ask me if you could drive it? I said, no, I don't want to ask you if you can drive it, because your car's too quiet. I don't want to. If something happens to your car, mine, I don't want to know. But he offered to let me drive it. So I said, okay, cool, because cars like that they're precious, man. You know what I mean? And especially R34, it's not that I don't want to drive it. It's just for me, a manufacturer car is very different to a personal car. You know,
Correct.
Personal car is it's his thing, man. You know,
it's pride and joy.
Just pride and joy. You got to kind of treat it that way, I believe. If I drive somebody, I never drive other people's cars fast anymore. Like, and when I was younger, I didn't care, slide it, whatever.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm very sort of prissy about other people's cars. I drive your car, see what it feels like, and then there's your key. And speaking of that, I drove an 8 series with a V12 M6 engine. That was Vessel Matthias' car. They built this car, so it's an 850, old 850 with
BMW.
Yes, with M6 everything. So the whole car is M6. The whole car.
Oh, my word.
Suspension. It's got the EDs, the electronic suspension damper thing. It's got all the settings for the gearbox. It's got the engine, and it's got a V10 that sounds. No, there's that V10 thing again.
Yeah.
That's probably the best sounding car I've ever driven. Maybe other than the R8 V10.
Leon Engelbrecht, one of our Gymkhana champions as well, he rocked up at the last Gymkhana, the previous Gymkhana before that, with his road going V10 that he modified. And we went around in this car. Oh, my word. Oh, my word.
How's that sound of that engine?
Wow, this thing is big. It's like a ship. How Leon gets that car around those cones and around the poles and through those gaps, I don't know.
Does he still use that car?
Well, he came to play with the car because he drives the Golf. He's got the 2-liter turbocharged Golf, right? But for some reason the car wasn't working, and he came with this. He came a couple of times actually with his car. So, but this isn't. You can ask Byron. This is crazy. Byron wants to address something quickly here with of Nico Mostert, I think.
Just quickly, actually, a few comments over here as well. I just want to assure Ashfaq Dawood that. He said, so Abdul, did you offer Ernest the commentator's contract?
Anytime.
Anytime. No. Asking for Ashfaq over here. Your place is also safe, my good friend. You're not going anywhere. We want you to drive.
Ashfaq's going to drive soon. That's why he wants to get another commentator.
Yes, I don't want to commentate there. I want to drive also.
Oh, my word. Okay, cool. You guys can take turns. You can commentate. That's Gymkhana. It is so flexible. It's so lekker. Really.
Yeah. We need grassroots forms of motorsport. There definitely needs to be more grassroots forms of motorsport where it's easily accessible. But the thing is, and we all know this, racing is expensive. Like, people ask all the time, how do I get into motorsport? It's expensive. Doesn't matter where you go, it's going to cost you money. And in a climate like South Africa in 2020, it's difficult to start motorsport.
So come. That's a good question. So motorsport has become very expensive, right? Our license fees, all our fees, our blah 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 blah. I mean, I know to enter a circuit event now is almost 1,500, just the entry fee.
Sure.
That's besides your fuel, besides all the other stuff. So on a race day, it's probably going to cost you nothing less than about 5 Gs. So I mean, it's only the elitists, the people with money that can afford that. So this is where Gymkhana comes in. The guys pay a couple of $100, no license required. They come and rock up there. We don't even take the money. The money goes to Killarney for the hiring of the venue. Right?
But I'm glad that you guys struck a deal with them to get that venue because tar, as we said, tar is difficult to come by. So I'm glad you guys have a place for the guys to be able to go and enjoy their cars.
Yeah, we had a place for 2020. We're still awaiting your friend to give us the details for 2021. So what can I say? Yeah. So Ernest, at the moment, you know that motorsport is not in a good space. I mean, the numbers are dwindling. There's a whole lot of things happening. What do you say? What is your take on that? How do you make it better? How do we get it going like in the old days where it was so lekker just to come there and have a jaw?
I think those days are gone, because a very wise guy that used to be my mentor, one of the guys that runs cars that said we said it. This was one of the conversations we spoke about in depth. And stadium motorsports is, if there's going to be anything, it's more than likely going to be a stadium sport. So it's like monster trucks or FMX or rallycross or something like that, where people can come to one location and see all the racing. In the world that we're living in now, it's difficult to be able to keep people's attention for long. It's difficult to get people out the house, especially now with COVID. And although top flight motorsport is still very popular, if Super GT came here or what's the other one there was now, Killarney 9 hour.
If that was Killarney, Killarney, which one is it? 7 hours with Killarney as well? What?
Killarney 9 hours. I took part in that one, yeah. But that one,
now, the one that was Arrow driving.
Yes. Yeah, I shared the track.
The one that which car did you drive?
Say again?
How did you drive?
Drove a Shelby Can-Am.
Oh, how did it go? I didn't even know you drove in the 9 hour.
Yeah, and now we won our class. It was awesome. It was a really amazing experience. I loved it. It's great to drive again. And I did 119s was my fastest time. The car can go way faster. But I drove the car for the first time on the Friday. So I said, I'm just going to drive this thing and see what happens. I'm going to be safe.
What is that thing? A V8?
No, that's a V6 350Z engine.
The Nissan engine.
Nissan engine, yeah. And we limped across the finish line on a 9 hour mark. The car was fine, but we got a puncture in the last 10 minutes or so, slow puncture. So my guy crossed the line with 3 wheels across the finish line.
But the reason why the car lost was because it had a Japanese Nissan engine. If there was any other engine,
you know what? That engine can go. That engine will run forever. That thing just revs the whole day. That engine didn't skip a beat that day, and the car was standing for 3 years. So we never got to test the car or set it up or anything like that. The car arrived on the Friday. We drove it on the Friday and the Saturday, and then we finished the 9 hour. It was great. It was a good time.
I just want to address something, Nico Mostert. Yes, the Rally Sprint for All. I mean, it's an awesome initiative. I mean, it's $450 to come and drive. I think they just check on Facebook. They're on Facebook as well. You need a helmet, you need safety belts, and there's no politics. You just come and you drive and you have a job. But it's unfortunately, you can't come and drive with a track car. It's dirt. It's gravel. So I would have loved to drive my Gymkhana car there, but it's not. I got to adjust the suspension and. Ja, so 'n bietjie outraak, maak jy vir almal lyn honderds, nie? But it's important.
I've always wanted to compete in a rally. I've never taken part in as a driver myself, but I have navigated a couple of times in rally. It was scary, and I said I'll never do it again. We had too many close calls.
Can't come and have a job there, man. That's what it's about. I just want to put up Leon's a little snippet of Leon's BMW quickly. Carl, you got it ready in the background there for us? I'm talking about this V10 that I'm speaking about.
Nice, Yo, that's nice, eh? That is nice. The way he got that car down there, that was like
no, that is only one. That's like a 5-second snippet. You should have been in that car. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That was good driving, and you can see his technique there. Solid technique. There wasn't any guessing there when he was throwing the car down. He was placing the car where he wanted the car to go. It's awesome. Good driving there.
Wow. Guys, we don't have much time. So, Baden, any things in closing there?
I just want to go back there to what we were saying about Nico Mostert, and he said, kom dan met jou kar waarmee jy kerk toe gaan. So,
I don't own a car, eh? I don't own a car.
Die ouens gaan nie kerk toe nie, jong. Dis die probleem hier.
Yeah, that is also the other problem. But I don't own a car, which is quite weird for a car guy, I know. But it is what
but it's good. You can drive a lot of cars.
That's it.
My last car was my S2000, and then when I started getting test cars, I realized, I needed to focus on the business also, and the car was a bit expensive to run. So I sold the car, and if I need to get anywhere without the car, just take an Uber nowadays. So.
Absolutely. So just when you book the Uber, just make sure it's like, I don't know, a GR Yaris or something, or electric or something like that.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
But you were saying?
Just to go back to that, we are all warriors in the same fight here for the same cause. Motorsport, like you were saying earlier on, Ernest, it's an expensive sport. Either way you put it, doesn't matter what type of motorsport you do, it's expensive. Has it become unnecessarily expensive? Yes, it has in places. I'm going to say something very controversial over here. Somehow, South Africa is one of the only countries that believes that making a formula more expensive is going to improve motor racing. In the country.
I know. And the problem also is that there's not much progression through the ranks either. But having said that, the way VW is doing it is the best way. Like they pushing, VW's international motorsport program got cancelled. Their petrol thing. And then the local South Africa, I spoke to the guys about that because, you know, they've got Polo Cup and Super Cup now, and they're still going to run Polo Cup for I don't know how long, and they're still going to run Super Cup. And at least now the Polo Cup guys have got somewhere to go. Ideally, you need a grassroots program takes you to the next level, and then overseas, where you've got backing by the time you get overseas. There needs to be companies waiting to pay or to fund somebody's motorsport journey to the other side. And we don't have that at the moment. And like the way South African Motorsport Administration is run, I mean, there's no secret, it's not run very well. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of of certain, I don't want to talk too much, but I'm not that big of a fan of the motorsport regering, to be honest. I don't agree with how they're doing it. But I also don't have the time to go there myself and say, look, I'm going to help try and fix this thing. I try to do what I can with what I do. But are there better ways to run it? Yes. And I wish it was run better, of course. But I think this whole thing about us waiting for the crowds to come back, only place I believe you're going to see crowds, international events and drag racing. The crowds aren't coming back to local motorsport racing events. They just freaking not. Those days are gone now. Where in the old days when we had like a national event, the only thing that you could do as a fan of motorsport was watch the racing at the track. That's the only thing you could do. You couldn't watch it on TV. You might if you missed that SABC3 broadcast, then it's sliced, bro. Then it's over.
Yeah.
So now I've got a steady diet of YouTube videos that I can watch 24 hours of the day. So I think people aren't going to go see a lot of live motorsports. So the way to manage motorsport is to go, okay, cool. How do we take this thing to the next level online? And how do we have a system? And on the other side, I think there should be a system where you've got an entry level and all the steps that can take a driver to overseas with funding. But it's difficult. That's what I think is the way it should be done. But you know, that takes money, time, resources, what comes done.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, we all do our little bit that contributes to the betterment of motorsport.
Yeah.
And like you say, you know, there's certain things that have to change drastically. So let's leave it at that, and do what we can do from the Gymkhana perspective, because it's an entry-level motorsport. It's not expensive. You can come with your road car. There's no politics. There's nothing. Because if you come with politics, we kick you out. Believe me, we do. You're there to have fun. It's one big family. We're there to have a joy. You come with any car. So just in closing, you are currently a car journalist. Can I put it that way? That's what you do.
Yeah.
Motoring journalist.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you see yourself going forward from here on?
You know, funny enough, I actually want to sit down this week and do my 2021 3 to 5 year plan, because my 3 to 5 year plan, as with most things in 2020, went to shit. So the path now is slightly altered. The priorities have changed. You know, I want to do different things, but my main focus is my brand over here, Performance with Page. I want to drive cool cars, drive fast cars, get guys involved in my production company. I've got like Thaki, he's my editor at the moment. He's from the Cape Flats as well. And it's a good opportunity for him to be able to get access to my world, because I've built access over the last, I've got privilege now in certain areas. I can walk into a space and I already know the owner. So I can go to the owner and say, Mikey, where's that? Let's organize that thing, man. Come, let's do that thing together. And I didn't have that 15 years ago. I've got a lot of those things now. So what I'm trying to do on my side is to build a team of guys around me that are good at what they do, really good at what they do, and try and build a production company up, do the social media stuff. Like Tamarin, she's my social media manager, and she's been helping me for the last 5 years. I knew nothing about this stuff. And that's kind of our main focus, is Performance with Page, and to build the brand so that I can do things with Toyota. Like we did that GR video with Toyota. I'm doing work with VW next year. I had a driving school before. I'd love to do another driving school again. I had a stunt and rally driving school at one stage. I'd love to do that type of thing again, driver training. But the main focus is Performance with Page. But with social media, it's difficult to plan, where does this go? You'll just suddenly meet a brand, and now this brand says, come, let's do this. I've got the funding. And then we go in a different direction. So that's kind of what I'm going to do for the next 3 years, is focus on my brand and then hopefully build something out of that. The motoring journalism side, it's always going to run. I'm going to try and create a couple of new journos in the team, give the guys the opportunity, because it's a difficult table to get a seat at. You know, it's more difficult to become a professional motoring journalist than it is to become a professional football player. So that's also what I want to focus on and build my team of guys that I don't necessarily have to drive the cars all the time anymore. So I think that's the 3 to 5 year plan, is to focus on my brand and wherever that takes me over the next couple of years.
Brilliant. And I think there's a, you know what, I mean, there's been a lot of inequalities in the past in various sports and especially motorsport. And I think we have the right platform where we can actually, what's the correct word? We can actually help with that.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if
I've got a position available, then I put it on my Facebook page, and I don't specifically look for people of color. I mean, a white guy work for me as well, but I look for the best guy. And
absolutely.
If I see a guy that's talented, I don't care what skin color, what your skin color is. Exactly. Ideally, I like to focus on guys with darker skin tone. Ideally, for the opportunity's sake. But if there's a guy and he's talented and he's white, come on in, bro. You know, everybody gets a shot at the title if the opportunity is available.
Correct. And I say with motorsport, the inequalities, maybe it wasn't color based, but I think it was more surname based. You know, it's who you knew.
Yeah.
So you know,
I do think it was color based, though. I do think it was color based. I definitely think.
Yeah, well, to an extent, but let's also remember we were not exposed to motorsport when we were young.
Yes.
It wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't. We were exposed to soccer and cricket, basically, and
I didn't like either. I don't like soccer and I don't like cricket.
Yeah. But you know what? It's an interesting discussion for another time. I think we have to run away now. But I'm gonna thank Carl in the background there for doing what he does best. And don't leave the studio, Ernest. We can have an offline chat after for a couple of minutes.
Cool.
But thank you, Byron. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you all the viewers for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, join us next week for episode 12. And
who do you have next week? Do you know you have next week yet?
I'm looking to get someone like maybe Tola.
Tola.
So and you know
that guy. I need to phone that guy.
Yeah, and you know Ikram Bubulia as well, with the fastest. Yeah, he's a really close friend. So I want to get him on to talk a little about his cars, because he's got some impressive little golfs there.
Like, we some world-class cars, eh? Like a legend.
He is. I mean, he's got the fastest street legal golf, normally aspirated golf. I think in the country, I think it's probably 11.9 or something.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's insane. Yeah. And I know that you work closely with guys like Dave Ingle, and you know how Dave Ingle works. And he's a perfectionist. They're the same kind of guys, man. Yeah. So everything is. I want to get Ikram on for next week. Just talk about his cars specifically, and get Tola on from a drag perspective. Have you seen Tola's new car? Have you seen Tola's new car?
The black Escort. Yeah, I just saw it on Facebook. I haven't actually. I just saw it on Facebook, basically.
I drove his old car, by the way. I drove the army colored one.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Turbocharged Escort. It's lekker.
Yeah. I mean, why would you build a flipping car with that much power? The wheelbase is like this short.
Yeah. But it's wide. Other cars are wide.
Like a bad idea.
Yeah.
But that's motorsport. There's a lot of whys.
I know.
I'm just going to do it. It's like, whatever. I'm going to build a car with incredible power and very short wheelbase. So what?
I love it when guys take something that's not supposed to do something and just go do it anyways. I love
Absolutely.
Against the grain. His car's loose, His car's loose, but he likes it that way. And that's cool. You need guys like that. Absolutely. I would personally do it, but you need guys like that.
But we all kind of like, we puzzle and we moan about it, but we all love it at the same time.
Yes.
You know, what's he doing that for? But if he doesn't do it, then it's like, why? Why do it?
Yeah. And he's got some. I think he's got the butter engine now imported from down under. I think.
Oh my word!
I haven't spoken to him myself. All I've seen is the Facebook pictures and the rumors and the messages and the whatever. So I need to speak to myself as well. But if he tunes in here, then I'll definitely be listening.
No, cool. I want to try and get him, and Ikram definitely. I want to try and get him as well. Yeah. So guys, thanks to the viewers out there, all the one that commented, and all the guys that have joined us tonight. And we'll see you next week at 8 o'clock for episode 12 of Motortalk with Witzenberg. And thanks for tuning in. And thank you, Carl, in the background there. Byron and Ernest, thank you so much for your time and interesting conversation. We can go on forever. So don't log out. Don't leave the studio. We're going to talk a little bit about this behind the scenes when nobody can hear us. Thank you so much and have a wonderful festive season, guys.